In this video, we're going to go through the fastest way to get your renown up to 25 with the fourth faction in the war within the Severed Threads. On the screen here, you can see all these different icons for the different sources of renown, and later on in the video, we're going to go through these one by one, and I'll explain how to gain that renown. But before we get into that, I'd like to discuss a few different things. The first one being the reputation changes. Of course, it is all now account-wide. This means that you cannot complete the same thing multiple times on different characters. It's not going to give you any more renown. What you will get instead with the Severed Threads is this Kej, which is the equivalent of resonance crystals with the other factions, but it's the Severed Threads version. You use this to purchase all of the renown items from the Quartermaster. So that brings us into our second point that I want to talk about, which is the Severed Threads specifically and how they have some slight differences to the other factions. You will notice that your renown is basically broken into three different portions, which is three different faction leaders: the General, the Vizier, and the Weaver. How this works is basically as you increase the renown with them and you move up a rank, every time you move up a rank, you get a renown level with the Severed Threads. So you won't actually see your Severed Threads renown or reputation move at all, even though you are gaining it with these faction leaders. So the main thing you're probably thinking is, do I need to level up one of these first, or should I level them all up together, or is there a better way to do it? I'm going to go through some of that later on when I talk about the Pacts later in the video in the weekly section. But one thing I wanted to point out here is from this comment on Wowhead, because I thought this was quite an important point. They mention about what if you've got one that is completely maxed. So when you reach 9 out of 9 Mastermind with a Pact, future rank ups with that pact won't increase your Severed Threads rank immediately. Instead, Paragon quests, for example Notorious with the General, will be available in the Weaver's Lair and reward a trove. In that trove, you're going to get a reputation commendation for the Severed Threads, which is going to equal 1 rank with the faction, and when maxed, you'll get a third of that Paragon chest as well. Basically what this means is you're not going to lose out if you've got one of these guys to the max level and you're still working on the others. That renown that you get from the world quests or from other activities that is going to go to your maxed one is still going to count eventually, allow you to get another renown rank with the Severed Threads. Nice. I hope that all makes sense. It's a little bit confusing, but basically what it means is you don't need to worry about too much. I'll talk later about why you might want to pick one over the other, but in general, you can just level them all up together or focus on one. It's really not going to affect you too much. Okay, nice. With that out of the way, let's jump into the different sources of reputation, starting with our one-time sources. So working through our different sources of reputation, our first one here, we have the main storyline quests. This is going to award, similar to the other factions, 7,500 renown through 3 different quests. Basically complete the overall campaign of the zone and you're going to get this 3 renown levels from this one. Nice. And then moving on next to the side quests, we have a total of 15 side quest storylines, and at the end of each of these it's going to award 500 renown with different ones of the 3 faction leaders that we have. So I've got those on screen here for you, and basically you just need to go and complete all of them and you get a total of 7,500 renown across the total of all of your 3 leaders. But this is going to rank up your Severed Threads in different amounts at a time. So for example, you can see if you add these up that the General is going to get a total of 2,000 renown, the Vizier as well another 2,000, and the Weaver 3,500. So the Weaver is getting a total of 1,500 more, so you're maybe going to be able to get the Weaver up a bit quicker if you want to. You can see on the screen here on the map, this has the starting quest for all of these different side quests. One important thing about this zone in particular, it seems as if you need to have your character completed the campaign to unlock all of them, and they need to be level 80 for quite a few of them. I'm not 100%, I haven't tested all of this, but I believe you should just complete the campaign on one character and then get them to 80. They should be 80 by that time, and then just come back and complete all of these as well. The ones that you missed, they should all be available for that character. Okay, nice. And next on to the rares. Now, these rares are going to award 150 reputation one time, and that is going to be spread across all 3 of the faction leaders, and you will not be able to kill these any more than once across your account. We have, of course, the Abyssal Devourer, Rak'ik, Zagal, these are not going to be easy to pronounce, Web Speaker Grikik, and Vilewing. And those are all of our one-time rares. and I'll talk about the weekly rares in the weekly section later. Nice, and then next on to our treasures. For the treasures, you are going to get a total of 1,500 renown if you go and pick up all of these. Most of the Ajkahet's ones are pretty straightforward, and I have produced a video about this already, which you can see linked up above. So go and check that one out if you haven't got these treasures already. And then moving on to the next one, we have the lore items. Now, there is 5 of these in the zone, each one awarding 250 renown with the faction. Currently, though, these are bugged and have been from almost the start of the expansion. Hopefully they're coming back soon, and hopefully by the time you're watching this, you can go and pick these up. But if not, just hang on, and then eventually we should be able to grab these as well. They give a total of 1,250 when you can pick them all up. Nice, and then our final one-time source are going to be the bountiful coffers. Basically, for this one, what it is you need to use your restored coffer key to go into a bountiful delve, and at the end of that bountiful delve, you will be able to open a bountiful coffer, and this has a chance to award 1,000 rep with the severed threads. Now, it is a one-time source for each one of the factions, so there's 4 different options you could get, and it just seems to be completely random. Now, by the time this video comes out, season 1 will be out, so you should be able to do this in a higher rank delve, but before this, people were saving their keys to open the bountiful coffers later on in the higher level delves so that they can get better gear. This shouldn't be a problem by the time this is live though. Okay guys, and next onto the weekly section of the video, the first one being these weekly pacts. Now this one's going to be a little bit longer, there's quite a few things to discuss here. Basically, at this NPC here, you're going to be able to start this quest where you have to choose to make a pact with one of the leaders, the general, the vizier, or the weaver. Now, what this does when you accept a pact with one of the leaders is you are going to specifically get renown for that leader when you complete essentially like a world quest for the zone, where you need to fill a bar from 0 to 100. You're going to fill this bar by doing world quests, by doing different activities that you will unlock through the leader's tree, and as you increase your rank with the leader, you will also get different buffs that are now active for you during that week. So what I would like to do next is just to go through all of the different options for the different rank ups for the leader, just to give you guys a bit of a comparison and let you decide on maybe one that you want to focus on first, and you'll see as we go through that why you might want to do that. I'm going to do it fairly quickly though and not go too in depth, but basically tier 1, what you start with, you're going to have a different ability for each one of the leaders. These you can just kind of have a go with, but in general they're all pretty good, I think. And of course the city rumors as well. Basically what this is going to allow you to interact with different NPCs, particularly in the city of Threads, I believe, and they will basically offer you a small world quest very local to them, where you can complete a few things to essentially increase that bar, to increase your pact for that week. Nice, and then moving on to tier 2, basically what this is, for 2 of them, it allows you to interact with more citizens in different parts of the city of Threads. And as well, we have 2 different kind of, or all 3, sorry, have basically another thing that you can do to increase your pact percentage that week. The Forgotten Memorials, we have the Kaheti excavations, and the Weave Rat caches as well. So basically just extra ways to increase your pact for the week. Nice, and then tier 3, basically each of them have a different quest for you. For me, I went and did this with the general, and it didn't really seem to come to much, so I wouldn't worry too much about these either. And then here's where we start to maybe be able to make a bit of a choice. So tier 4, we have different world buffs. So with the general is basically a world buff where if you're going to die, you become immune. And then with the vizier, we start to get an increase of 10% of Kej when we are doing different things with our pact active. And then with the weaver, we have profession crafting and gathering speed increasing by 15%. Now this could be a really big one for a lot of people, as there is, I believe, the tables for crafting inside the city of Threads. Nice, and then the next tier we have tier 5, notoriety pays off. Basically we're going to get an increase of what we're going to get out of that cash that we get from our pact each week, basically an increase of cash. So this is the same across all of them. Again, not much of a decision to make. And then our next tier, tier 6, we get another one of those quests. I have not completed any of these, but based on the first one, I'm not imagining there's going to be much to it other than maybe some cash. But the world buffs again are basically just an increase on the ones we talked about previously. With the general, the buff looks exactly the same, but I assume it has a shorter cooldown, for example. And then with the Vizier, we now get an increase of 20% cash. And then with the Weaver, we get 30% increase to crafting and gathering speeds, which is a pretty big buff, to be honest. And then our next choice here as well for which one we want to try and get first is tier 7. We have the 3 different mounts. I've got them on screen here. They are just all different recolors, but maybe there's one of those you prefer more than the others that you want to try and get first. Okay, and then our final tier for each of them, tier 8, we have different titles: Anub, Hand of the Vizier, and Silk Singer. And then similar to this, we also have the same but their own version. We have different visual effects which are added to the Hearthstone that you can get from the Severed Threads Quartermaster, and this is going to give you a different effect for each one of the leaders. Nice. So that is kind of a breakdown of all the different tiers. You can see them all kind of here on the screen now. There isn't a lot of choice to make, really. The only big things will be that ability that you can use from one to the other, but that one you don't even need to work for. You can just have it immediately. And then the only choice comes in which one of those world buffs you prefer. Of course, the Vizier and the Weaver sounds better in general, unless you're dying often, which probably is not the case. But they seem like they're going to benefit you a lot more. If you're a crafter, probably going for the Weaver first of all is going to make a lot more sense. If there are those tables in the City of Threads, I can't remember exactly if they are there. And then, of course, there's the mount and the titles as well. So if there's one of those you want first, but eventually you're going to get them all anyway. Nice. So that is the choice you have to make in which leader you want to level up first. At the end of the day, it really doesn't matter too much unless you are massively min-maxing things. But I think in general, just go for whichever one you want to do first. And that is the weekly pact covered. That's going to give you 1,500 renown when you do finish that bar. And you will then keep all of these buffs for the rest of the week. And this will be the same across all your characters as well. They will also be on this same pact as well. Next on to our weekly rares. Now there is 14 of these, each awarding 150 renown, spread across the 3 leaders. And of course, yeah, you need to kill all of these once per week per account to get that 2,100 renown. This one is, of course, probably the most challenging as you are competing with everyone else as well. What I would say is try to either join a group or come on at a random hour that other people aren't on, or maybe even make a character on a really dead realm if that's going to help at all. And you can see all of the weekly rares on the map here, of course, as well, just to give you an idea of where they all are. I'd also recommend downloading handy notes to get their icons on your map, and you can just fly from one to the other and see if any of them are up. Nice. And then on to our next one, we have the dungeon quest, 1,500 renown, and you get to choose this one to be with one of the leaders in particular. So you need to choose whichever one you're looking to level up first. Nice. And then on to the world quests as well. Somewhere between 600 and 1,200 renown each week from these. Now, the world quest will only become available after you have chosen your pact as well. If you're not seeing them on the map, you need to start that pact with one of the leaders for the week. And then to follow on from this, we have the contract as well. This is going to allow you to get a little bit more rep with the different leaders, and this one spreads across all 3 of the leaders as well, with every world quest you complete when you have it active. Of course, it's only available to have 1 per account per week. So if you choose the Severed Threads, all your characters will have that one if they complete different world quests. You'll pick this up on the auction house from a scribe. Nice. And then on to the next one, the PvP quest. Now, I was informed in the last video, this is not specifically for Battlegrounds. It's rotating between different PvP events each week. So basically here, you will come in Dornogal to pick up this quest, which will reward 100 renown across all the different factions once per week. Nice, and that is all of our weekly options done. And now moving on to a few of the others at the bottom here. we have the special assignments. This one is a bi-weekly quest, I believe, although yeah, I'm pretty sure it's bi-weekly. Every 2 weeks this will pop up in Azkahet, and basically you need to complete 3 world quests which will unlock the special assignment, which is basically a bigger world quest which is going to award you 200 renown at the end of it. And then next on to our last renown source for the Severed Threads, we have this Sparks of War quest, also picked up in Dornogo from the same PvP NPC, which is going to be the Sparks of War. Basically, this quest to complete and get 250 renown for the Severed Threads when you complete this quest. So guys, that is the final guide done for the factions that are currently in the War Within. On the screen here, you can see the overview of all the different renown sources for this faction to make sure you're not missing anything each week. As you can see by the totals at the bottom, it's basically more in line with the first 2 factions, with the Assembly of the Deeps and the Council of Dornogo. Around renown 10 after 1 week, completing all of those different weekly and one-time sources. And then after that, getting between 2 and 3 renown levels per week if you complete all of the weekly options, and if you get a bit more lucky with the Sparks of War or the bi-weekly special assignments, for example. And yeah, that is everything. Thanks for all the support as always, guys. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much. Peace.